What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And today's video is about Jon Jones, the greatest, the GOAT. And that's not me saying this. This is Ilia Topuria. This is so many amazing fighters saying that when you ask them who's the greatest of all time, it's Jon Jones, hands down. The experts tend to agree on that front. Obviously, there's a little bit of controversy surrounding him, or maybe a lot of controversy. But for me, when I'm thinking about who's the greatest, I want to look to his fellow professionals, the people that are also in the same field. And I think by and large, most people will say that Jon Jones is the greatest. Anyways, the point of this video is to some extent to defend Jon Jones, but really just to point out some of the hypocrisy I see surrounding Jon Jones. A lot of people are quick to jump on the anti-Jon Jones bandwagon. They're really beating up on him for not taking this Aspinall fight. I've said from the get-go, and while I do want to see this fight now, it has created an appetite for this fight within me, just the fact that it's been dragged out for so long. I think it would be a great matchup. I just want to see Jon Jones fight, period. And because of all the anticipation around this fight, I think it would be fun. That being said, I am happy with Jon Jones walking off into the sunset, not taking this fight, because if you're a newer fan, maybe you don't really realize what's happened, but this guy has gone through 1, 2, 3 generations of the greatest of the greats and beaten pretty much everybody. And I don't feel that he has anything left to prove in the sport. And I think only people that do feel that way, or that feel like he's ducking Jon Jones, are not correctly looking at the length of his career and the success of his career. There is no need. And after he beats Tom Aspinall, there will be somebody new that people will be clamoring for him to fight. It will never end. So him walking away at this point is not ducking by any means. And yeah, if he wants to keep fighting, okay, and he wants to maintain the heavyweight belt. I think at this point, if he's going to stay as heavyweight champ, yes, he needs to fight Tom Aspinall. I'll agree with you there. But if he steps away and retires, I think he should get no shame for that. Or if he somehow decided to move, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if he wanted to change division, he's a fighter. He can do what he wants. And other people have done way worse in this sport, in my opinion. So anyways, I think he just gets beat up so much because he is at the top of the sport and he does have this great reputation. And with that comes heightened level of scrutiny. But I wanted to point out something in particular that, and I think part of this stems from the fact that Ariel doesn't have a good relationship with Jon Jones. And again, this is not to say that I am a fan of Ariel. I listen to his show all the time. I think he does the best interviews in the game. But this is something that I do notice on occasion with Ariel. And I know he takes a lot of pride in being a legitimate journalist, but we all have biases and they all creep in certain places. It is what it is. It doesn't make him a bad journalist per se. It doesn't make him a bad person. But I wanted to point this out just to give Jon Jones a little bit of defense on this front. So this first clip I'm going to play you just to shed light on this double standard that's being applied to Jon Jones. We're going to talk about this clip with Ariel and Dustin Poirier, and Ariel's talking about how great it is to retire on top and what's the formula for retiring in the right way and all these things. And the examples he points out are people like George St. Pierre, had the belt and walked away. How awesome is that? But yet, when Jon Jones is potentially on top of the world, having the belt and has the chance to walk away right now, and I know the circumstances aren't the same. This has been dragged out. The fight has been teased and all this stuff. So I get it. It's different circumstances. But at the same time, if you're going to be such an advocate of champions having this great career, illustrious career, and retiring on top, stepping away while you're at the top of the sport, you know, why are we having a double standard with Jon Jones? Is it because you're really tight with Tom Aspinall and you want to see him get the fight? Like, and if that's the case, like Michael Bisping makes it no secret that he's close with Tom Aspinall. So if that's the case, that's fine. So you're rooting for your guy. But I just want to point out that if you're really advocating for fighters as a whole to retire on top, I think Jon Jones could be part of that category. And you should be happy for him if he does choose to step away. Now, if he does take another fight I don't think the UFC will allow him to take another fight in the heavyweight division while maintaining the belt and not taking on Tom Aspinall. At this point, that would be ridiculous. I will agree with everybody 100% there. But if he doesn't do that and he steps away, it shouldn't harm his legacy. It doesn't harm it, in my opinion. New York Rick on Ariel's show agrees with me on that front for sure. But anyways, let's back it up to this conversation first with Dustin Poirier. Check this out.
The thing is, I was just talking to GSP about this. He was on earlier. And the art of retiring, Dustin, is a very interesting thing, right? We see some people stick around too long, not get the fairy tale ending. We just saw it with Anthony Smith. No one wants that. But at least he got to go out on his own terms. He asked for the last fight. Then you have guys like GSP. I think no one did it better than him as champion. He walks away. Khabib as well. Why do you, ultimately is it?
Let's not forget about the dog, Robbie Lawler.
So he goes on this whole statement of, hey, look what just happened to Anthony Smith. He went out for his retirement fight and he lost. Nobody wants that. Okay. So you're saying nobody wants that. Well, Jon Jones right now has the opportunity to step away from the sport on top, take a bow, leave with the belt, having achieved double champ status. So you should be happy for him too. It should be the same deal. But instead, these are Ariel's sentiments. Check this out.
But I would argue that both scenarios will hurt his legacy today.
What he's saying when he said both scenarios, he's saying that I think the statement was posed if he should be able to walk away and just retire, and that would be cool, and his legacy should be unfazed. And the other one was, but if he takes another fight that's not Tom Aspinall, yeah, that's going to affect his legacy. If he takes another fight in the heavyweight division while maintaining the heavyweight title, and it's not Tom Aspinall, yeah, that's going to be weird. And I think that could negatively affect his legacy and really the legitimacy of the UFC heavyweight division as well. But I don't think that's going to happen. But then he said the second scenario is also going to affect his legacy, just retiring. Why? Why does he have to fight? There's always going to be a new up-and-coming superstar coming into any organization, and he's already beaten 3 generations of these stars. Not too long ago, beat Stipe. I know people are dismissing that win over Stipe. Stipe was still very dangerous, and he looked great. He just got beat up by Jon Jones and started to look not so great as the fight went on. So it is what it is. I don't know why people don't give him his due credit for taking on a legend in the game. But anyways, so that's what he's saying. He's saying even if he walks away at this point, that's going to hurt his legacy. I disagree, but let me let Ariel continue, and then I'll respond with my final thoughts.
Because if Tom Aspinall was a 40-year-old former champion and he's getting top dollar to fight him, I'm pretty sure he takes that fight. He gave us no indication back in November that he was done.
You don't know that, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but that's really, really, really a great deal of speculation. Maybe he's going back and forth as to whether or not, regardless of who he fights, regardless of the probabilities, does he want to take that risk and have this less graceful retirement, the one that Ariel was just a moment advocating for. And obviously with the risk comes a greater reward. So he's weighing those options in terms of getting the compensation. But the question is to him, is the chance of losing that legacy, is that worth the money? Now, if it was a less dangerous opponent, the compensation would be less. So we're still having a similar balance. So I don't know if necessarily, he's fighting another opponent that's less dangerous, he would jump on and do it, because there's always going to be a risk that you could lose that fight. So again, to balance out that risk, we have a heightened reward, purportedly $30 million or whatever it may be, but it's still a calculation that he wants to make. So I don't know if we could say for sure, it's only because he's this level of a fighter and that. He's got a calculation to make. He's trying to do what you just advocated for a moment ago, which is to retire on top and to maintain his legacy. And I think he has the right to do that without people saying, this is going to tarnish your legacy. Everybody's got to choose a point at which they're going to stop fighting. It is what it is.
Fighting. Did he even hint at it? Did he even say this might be it for me? I don't remember that.
He was kind of riding the fence all week, but to your point,
he definitely did hint that this might be it. He definitely did. I don't know what he's talking about. He said in the presser, he said he's totally happy to walk away at this point, but if they want to pay him so much money where he doesn't care if he wins or loses, something like that, then maybe he would entertain the thought. Of course he was entertaining that was his last fight. That was on the table. So I don't know. Maybe he's just misremembering this.
Yeah. The last thing he said was pay me and I'll fight. That was ultimately what he ended up at. And so if what you're saying is the pay me part has been settled, now there's only one direction to look. It makes it very clear.
There's no doubt Jon Jones doesn't need Tom Aspinall. He doesn't need to beat Tom Aspinall in order to secure his legacy. That could be true, and it is true, but it could also be true that him walking away from this fight, not accepting this fight, is a bit of a sting on his legacy. It's a bit of a little bit of I don't know, some sort of demarcation, and it's a massive victory for Tom Aspinall. It's an unofficial moral victory for Tom Aspinall, because I do believe
let me let him finish. I so disagree with this.
Tom wasn't this young, wasn't this good, wasn't this dangerous, wasn't the kind of guy whose fights only last a minute or two and doesn't give you a lot to game plan, which we know Jon loves. More power to him. I think Jon takes this fight.
You think you have no idea, number one. And again, because I don't think he would be getting compensated the same way. So it's the risk reward balance would have been different. And maybe he would be getting lesser of a payday and less inclined. So I don't know if we can say that, but to call this a victory for Tom Aspinall, I just got to call it like it is. I don't think you'd be saying that if you had the type of relationship. You guys tell me if you agree or disagree. I got to call a spade a spade. I think if he had the same type of relationship with Jon Jones as he does with Conor McGregor, he wouldn't be saying this. It's again, I think this narrative is colored by the fact that he has zero relationship with Jon Jones. Jon Jones won't go on a show. Another fighter that I think just doesn't want to go on Ariel's show for whatever. I don't exactly know what has happened or what's caused the rift, but he won't do it. Versus Tom Aspinall, who loves Ariel, who goes on all the time. And I think this is coloring his perspective for sure, because I don't with fighters where he has a really good relationship and they're kind of engaging in similar, I'm not going to name any names, but where they're engaging in similar behaviors, he doesn't have this type of commentary towards them. So I think that's what's coloring it. I'm going to step up to the defense of Jon Jones here. And I'm going to say that it doesn't matter if he takes this fight or not in terms of his legacy in the grand scheme of things. He does say, Ariel, to his defense later on, hey, 5 years from now, this probably won't be that, may not be that big of a deal if you look at the length and strength of his schedule and the length of his reign and all that stuff. And I do agree. And once again, I think it's a lot of the newer fans that are pushing this narrative that it's such a big deal that he's ruining his legacy if he doesn't take on this Tom Aspinall fight. I don't think so. I think he has a right at some point. You have to stop and walk away. And if he stuck around if he beats Tom Aspinall and sticks around for another 2 or 3 years, there's going to be another killer that's going to be the new guy that people are going to want to see him fight. So there's going to be no end to this. And that's always the case. Just like even when Khabib stepped away, people thought, man, Oliveira, that would have been the guy that he should have taken on. And now there's always going to be that question. There's always going to be a question. What are you going to do? But then going back to what Ariel's statements were, the art of retiring on top. This is how you do it. You're going to have to leave some fans disappointed. It is what it is. That's my thought. So if this fight doesn't happen, I know Dana White is adamant that it still is going to happen. We shall see. I don't know. I don't know where my confidence level on that is. It's not the greatest, but I just want to say that if it doesn't happen, I think it's fine. And I think Jon Jones has earned that. And it doesn't, in my opinion, affect his legacy whatsoever. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree or disagree? Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.